start from the beginning with cigars? Is there like a certain time you like to bust it out?
I mean, I'd love to start at the beginning. I just, I haven't had my morning cigar yet, John. So
every day with those things?
Yeah, I don't inhale them though, man. I still work out every day. I just like to smoke cigars.
Are you not you don't box at Steve's anymore?
It's too far. I used to live in Larchmont. I used to drive right down
to Steve's.
Petromali's. It was 10 minutes from my house.
What about? I just talked to him on the phone, man. He sends love, bro.
He's awesome.
He's one of a kind, huh?
Yeah, he is. He's the best.
And do you know that like Steve at that gym, like no bullshit, 85% of the people that box at that gym he kicks out. Like if he had more tolerant of people that were full of shit,
I didn't know that.
He would make all the money in the world. But like he won't let people in that gym because like if you lie once, if you don't be who you say you are once, you can't box there anymore.
I get that about him, though.
And he was like, I just got off the phone with him. He was like, Sammy is one of a kind. He's like, I love that guy. He's one of a fucking. You know how rare that is for Steve to say that? It's like literally, I can't think of it.
Steve really said that?
Said it to me on the day. He goes, yeah. He told me, what story did he ask me to? Oh, he said that you were holding hand pads for him.
Yeah.
You had told your lady about that he has old man strength, and it reminded you of some story. What was that? He says there's some story where you like fought an old guy in the pen or something.
Tell you that story?
Yeah, tell me that story.
That was the toughest fight I ever been in my life.
Tell me.
Okay. So the year was 2006.
Yeah.
I was in Dixon Correctional Center in Dixon, Illinois.
Okay.
And
2000. How old are you? 2006.
23.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 39 now. So the only reason, this is a trip. I haven't thought about this story in a long time. He's probably the last person I told that story to.
Yeah.
Worm, big worm. So check this out. So the only reason Dixon was the sweetest joint in the state. When I say sweet, what I mean is you had the most movement. You could move around. You could do whatever you wanted to do. And the only reason I got to Dixon, the only fucking reason, is because I had a lawsuit against IDOC because they beat my fucking brains out in 2005 in Stateville behind the wall, which is max. They beat the shit out of me. Right?
The COs.
The COs and lieutenants.
Why?
Because I punched a white shirt in the face over
the Jewish Star.
It was actually a high.
Got it. Got it. Oh, I want to hear that story too. But tell me.
In any event, though, I'm not trying to blow smoke in your face. This is a wonderful cigar, though. I mean, this is a really, truly wonderful cigar.
Like this? How you do
so
this?
You got to toast it. So you want to toast it. You want to hold the flame just far, but a little bit further away. So just like the tip of the flame, and really toast it for like a good minute, and then just get
for a minute. You didn't do it a minute.
I did do it a minute. I did about 40 seconds.
Now see how I just said you didn't do it a minute.
Yeah.
Did you feel like I was being aggressive?
No,
right? It's just the way we talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
He really is like a. All right, anyway, sorry. Tell the story. Sorry.
Yeah, you just want to toast a cigar like this. You really want to toast it. I'm only busting this out for a special occasion because it's you. Honest to God, I would fucking smoke a regular.
Thank you, bro.
Regular like $10 cigar, but you got I busted out the big guns for you.
Thank you, bro.
But isn't that like somebody? You know what's crazy though?
Tell me.
Isn't it like when you're already a superstar, you get all the best shit? Do you know what I mean? Isn't that true though? Right?
I mean, I have noticed like the people who need it the least
I'm
get
bringing
the
you.
money.
I could have brought you a $15 cigar, but instead I'm like, nah, it's Bernthal. But I'm gonna bring a $75 6.6.
But you know what's fucked up about it is you could have brought me the fucking.
You would have been happy with it.
$4. Sure. I would have been happy with, and I wouldn't have known the difference. I mean, sure. But I'll enjoy this, and it says a lot about you. You know the difference.
I gotta bring
which says a lot about you.
That
says a lot about you. All right, so Dixon Correctional. Mm-hmm. What's the dormitories like in Dixon?
So they're not dorms, they're cells. But here's the thing. So I was truly a very bad behaved inmate the entire time I was in prison. And the only reason I got to Dixon, the only people that got to Dixon were guys that had been locked up 20 years and had already like worked their way through the system and good behavior got down there. Yeah. Or like cops that got locked up or something like that. And it was people that had been locked up a long time. It was not a place because it was a medium security prison. And I was somebody that had spent 5.5 years out of 8.5 years in solitary confinement, disciplinary segregation. So I was never going to end up in Dixon. The only reason I got down there is because after I got into it with the white shirt with the lieutenant and they beat the fuck out of me, they knocked my tooth out. They gave me a Pumpkinhead Deluxe. They fucked me up real bad. I never gave up hope of coming out from under. They gave me a year solitary confinement. A year good time loss, which means you have to do an extra year added onto your sentence. And then on top of that, they were going to try to give me a case. So to combat that, I started writing lawyers in the law library. Every fucking day I would write a different lawyer, right? And so I amassed like 50 letters that I sent out, and I got represented from a law firm, a pretty prestigious law firm.
What was the basis of your case? Like what were you
Excessive force.
Excessive force.
Look, I punched this guy. I did. And then after they hit me with the pepper spray right in my face, and I got one punch off, and then they beat the shit out of me, and then they got me. We're in a little cell in Stateville on 8 Gallery. You know what I mean? It's 4 stories up, and they beat the shit out of me, got me on the ground, handcuffed me, and then stomped me out, stomped me in the nuts, stomped me in the feet.
How many guys?
5. It was 2 white shirts and 3 COs.
Tell everybody what a white shirt is.
A white shirt is a lieutenant. A white shirt is a lieutenant. He wears a white shirt.
And that was over the high.
That was over the necklace.
Okay, all right. You got to tell us that story too.
I'll tell you that story too. But to get to the Dixon fight, I just say that because I got down to Dixon because of the lawsuit. They let me down in this prison. I never would have been there. And as soon as I got down there, I got into a fight, which I'm not even going to get into that. I just got into another fight over some gangbanging shit. But regardless, time goes by, and when you're in prison, on the back of the IDOC cards it says staff assaulter. It says your religion, and it says if you ever assaulted a staff, it will say staff assolter, right?
So
and like back then it was like
staff assaulter.
But back then it was like a badge of honor. But the only thing is like if COs see that shit, they're gonna fuck with you. They're gonna fuck with you big time, right? Which is another story. What? So the thing happened is,
this is good.
Isn't it a good cigar?
Yeah.
So essentially, a new warden came down and he started instituting some fucked up policies, like more lockdown and things like that. And guys were all pissed off, and I was pissed off, right? So what kicked the whole thing off is we were sitting at the chow hall, and there were bigger tables at the chow hall, right? There was like in Dixon, there was a lot of guys at the table. And I'm sitting there, and I was talking to myself. I was like, a CO said something, like I think he might have been rushing us to hurry up our food or whatever. And he's like, he's telling us to go. And I just sat down and ate. I'm like, man, these bitch-ass motherfuckers. And this dude next to me, who was an old guy named Worm. His real name, I remember his real name, Charles Wormley. He was locked up for murdering a cop when he was a kid in the 70s. And he had been locked up since the 70s, right? I would never remember details like that, but on this guy I remember, and he was a cool dude. But regardless, so he hears me mumbling like these bitch ass motherfuckers, and he like tries to front me off. He's like, why don't you do something about it then, man? He's like, if you're so mad about it, why don't you get up and throw a tray in his face then, And he started like instigating
you up
in front of people, and at that time in my life, I did not like making any scenes in front of anybody, right? And by the way, the politics in Chicago and Illinois are very different than the politics out here in the prison system.
Can you explain?
There's no race in Chicago because all the gangs are you got black dudes in Latino gangs, you got white dudes in Latino gangs, you got Latino dudes in black gangs, you got some white guys in black gangs. It's very different.
Very different.
And that's how it is in the joint, right? Whereas out here, obviously,
the politics are all
cars are all one race and everything like that. But so nonetheless, we're sitting at the same table, and the guy starts. I've never had an interaction with this dude in my life, right? So the dude's like, "Why don't you get up and do something about it?" So I'm looking, and I don't say nothing because at that time in my life, it was dry snitching. In my mind, if I say anything and make a scene, that's dry snitching because you're alerting the COs that there could be some type of altercation. So I wasn't gonna do that. So I didn't say shit to him. And then everybody got off at the table. He stayed sitting. I stayed sitting. And when everybody got up, I took my idea. I showed the staff. So I said, motherfucker, I've been doing this shit. I said, first of all, I didn't know anything about this guy. I didn't know that this dude, was locked up for 40 fucking years and and he was getting ready to go see the parole board. I didn't know any of this shit. But I'm just like, I said, why don't you go do something? I said, you know what, motherfucker? You go hit the CO right now. I'll follow suit to you. How about that? Mm-hmm. How about that? Mm-hmm. And he started talking shit. I said, I told him what cell I was in. I said, you know what, motherfucking, here's my cell. Come holler at me afterwards. Come. I'm not gonna motherfucking make a scene in front of the police, motherfucker. Come see me after, when we get back. So, we get back. I go in my cell. I told my next door neighbor, I said, hey, listen, man, I got into this motherfucker at the chow hall. If you see a dude coming down the gallery, let me know. And he's like, all right. Or it's a wing in Dixon, because they're wings on the unit. Galleries are in the cell houses in Stateville and the Max. So nonetheless, I'm in there. I'm putting my shoes on. I'm getting ready, and my next door neighbor, whose name was Big D, he come. He's like, hey, bro. He goes, dude's coming, and dude's coming. He's got gloves on. He's mugged the fuck up.
I mean, he's got gloves on.
Like you got
he wrapped his hands.
Like guys wear like gardening gloves they sell on commissary, so that they don't get marks on their fists. Because if you get into a fight and somebody snitches, then internal affairs will look at your fist to try to see if you have marks on your fist, and then they'll take you to jail.
But your hands still get marked up, right? With them,
not like
just
that.
Not the same.
They're looking for literally
like bone on bone.
Yeah, they're looking for red marks along the knuckles, and all that. So, oh my bad. So, whatchamacallit? So, Big D says, hey, dude coming down right now, like he's all mugged up and got gloves on, and I'm like, all right, cool. So now it was cool. The fucking the wings were about as wide as this wooden area right here, right? Cell doors on each side. And so all the guys made a wall. So we had like a legit area to fight, right? And I don't remember who threw the first punch, but all I remember is when dude hit me. I'll never forget this shit, because when dude hit me, my motherfucking eyes went like this in my brain.
Wow.
Right?
Came with the
I
kiss
remember
and
he hit me with like a 2-piece crispy,
yeah.
And my eyes were just like, and we got into it,
yeah.
and we went at it,
yeah.
For like a good, I don't know, maybe it felt like 10 minutes. It was probably a minute, right? We got into it,
yeah.
And like I had like a little busted lip, he had a little busted lip. It was what it was, and because I remember the whole week, I was walking like this.
Yeah.
With my lips sucked in so nobody would see it.
Cheers,
so if I was ever walking to the chow hall or anywhere I was going, I had my lips sucked in so that the COs wouldn't see that I had a mark from fighting, right?
Yeah.
Injury. And we never got caught for that fight, right? We got away with it. And that was the one guy, literally in all the fights I got into, which was quite a few, that I talked to afterwards. We were cool. It was like a mutual respect thing.
Yeah.
Like he was just cool. And then I found out this dude had been locked up since he was like fucking 15. He got charged as an adult for a murder when he was like 15. This dude was like a C number, and C numbers still see the parole board. In Illinois, they cut at the time they cut your time in half, and you don't see a parole board no more. You just, if you don't get in trouble, you get out at a certain date. But the guys that were locked up before 1978, I think, were still C numbers. And those guys still see the parole board to this day.
Wow.
If there's any alive still, which I think there's probably a few. So I say that because he was getting ready to go see the parole board. And so I imagine he was stressed the fuck out.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's the Worm story. And I told that to Petramali because I remember when Worm hit me, to this day, I've never been, well, actually I have my boy Don the Bomb George. He hits as hard as Worm. He's a fucking monster. But when Worm, it was the toughest fight I was ever in. Like the way that he punched me in my face, I remember thinking like, oh, I'm in for some shit. But that was a jail fight, so I was hitting him with bows. I kneed him in the stomach.
You felt that power with Steve.
Yeah, I felt that power with Steve. Steve had that.
Steve's crazy.
He's got the old man.
It's incredible.
So I was holding the mitts for him, and the motherfucker hits my mitt. And I'm like, all right, you got some motherfucking old man stream, bro.
And he's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Steve's the guy.
Yeah.
And I told him I think I told him like an abridged version of that story.
Yeah, he loved this story. But at that point, when you're locked up, had you already had pro fights?
Mm-mm.
That was all after.
Yeah, it was all after. It was all after, man.